Hello, Digfig here, and welcome to my gear breakdown for patch 1.1. With the current state of the game, I don't know if I can call this a tank build anymore, so I'm going to call this a tank/bruiser build, and I'm going to let you guys decide. This video is going to be specifically about my gear, and if you want to know more about my active abilities and talents, you can click on a link above me where I go into more details. Before we get into each piece of gear, let's take a look at my stats. If we jump to my weapon stats, you can see I only have 48% crit chance. This can go up to 60, so I could get a little bit higher, but my other two numbers are very strong right now. And if we scroll down a little, you can see I'm not just stacking accuracy to get this number. Now for my survivability stats. You guys used to give me a lot of flack for not having 65% weapon mitigation, but now I'm even a little over. I think you only need 4700 armor to be capped. I have a little bit of room to bring that down and up some other stats. Now let's go back to the main inventory screen and talk about why I chose to use the Century's Call set. I like to focus a lot on PvP in my builds, and I make do in PvE. I've heard arguments for the Striker's Battle set that it equals higher numbers in the long run, but in PvP that's 2.5 magazines with the vector you have to land to be at full bonus, versus just 3 rounds you have to land with the Striker set. Another thing that gets overlooked about the Stalker set is that damage bonus increases damage from all sources. If they're being shot from other NPCs or players, that's a lot of extra damage to tank. Now let's go over my weapons. You can see here that I'm using a first wave vector and a first wave M1A1. To get the first wave vector, you need to be Dark Zone rank 75, and you can buy the blueprint from the DZ3 safe house. Now getting this first wave M1A1 isn't as easy. I got this as a drop from the final boss in Russian Consulate. When it comes to SMGs, you're going to be looking for a few specific talents. The first two talents, which I think are the two most important, is Deadly and Brutal. When it comes to the last talent on your SMG, you're going to be looking for either Fierce, Responsive, or self-preserved. If you get vicious like I did, it's still not a bad talent though. When it comes to modifying your SMG, you should be prioritizing critical hit chance and critical hit damage. I've seen some videos and some posts lately that are talking about the rate of fire versus critical hit damage on your magazine. I've been testing and swapping back and forth, and both seem to have their upsides and their downsides, so I'd love to know what you guys think is better. Now let's move on to my secondary weapon. You can see here it's an M1A1 marksman rifle. So the best talent you can have on one of these right now is currently balanced. It keeps that aimer perfectly spot on. It does not expand after you shoot. And Prepared is also an excellent talent to have on the sniper rifle. I got really lucky when this dropped. And when it comes to modifying a marksman rifle, you want to prioritize weapon damage and headshot damage. This is just my secondary weapon, so it's nothing special, so let's move on to my gear. Now the community seems to be a little split here between running one 4-piece set bonus and one 2-piece set bonus, or running one 4-piece set bonus and 2 non-set pieces. I'm currently on the side of running one 4-piece set and 2 no-set pieces because the Reckless and Savage talent on your chest and gloves are way too powerful. And the only reason I'm running these Century's Call gloves right now is because they're a 240 with an amazing roll on it. And I still haven't managed to get a good Savage pair of gloves that can equal these Centuries. Now let's start with my chest piece. You can see here I keep this Striker's harness just for this ammo capacity. I swap it out when I rearm because the more ammo the better. But for the actual one I wear, I have a Reckless talent. It's a 204. I got this as a drop. It's amazing. The 13.5% increase on a Reckless came with armor, health, and a mod slot. Your chest piece is actually one of the best things you can reroll armor on, as it has one of the higher numbers. And for every piece of gear, you should definitely try and get a mod slot. It's a huge bonus. And in all of my mod slots, I'm currently running stamina and skill power. That's how I've managed to keep a respectable 16,000. Where most builds you see that are over 200,000 DPS have about 6,000 skill power. Now let's move on to the next piece of gear. You can see here I'm running a Century's Call 240 mask with 2 mod slots, which I actually need to reroll one of these mod slots into either the 5,500 ability power or the 5% critical hit chance to get more out of that slot. Now let's move on to our next piece of gear, which will be the knee pads. When it comes to your knee pads, you're definitely going to want critical hit damage in the major attributes. And there's not much else too special about these, so let's move on to the next thing, the backpack. You can see here I'm running a Century's Call 214. I had to reroll this from firearms to stamina to maintain 100,000 plus HP, where ideally I'd find this with stamina already on it so I could reroll this armor stat into skill power, since backpacks have one of the highest skill power rolls on them. And then I could repurpose 3 of my mod slots to be armor, and I would still get more skill power out of this backpack. And you can see that a lot of my skill attributes are wrong. There's still a lot of room for improvement in my gear. Now let's move on to the gloves. You can see that I'm running a Century's Call pair of gloves, even though I say the Savage is the best thing, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. But I'm currently running these because this firearms roll is huge on these gloves. It's so much higher than anything I can get out of these stats. So ideally right now I would find a 204 pair of these gloves with Savage on it, critical hit damage, SMG damage, and critical hit chance. But that's going to be a lot of incursion farming, and when I find them I will replace these Century's gloves. And now the final piece of gear, the holster. You can see I'm running a Century's Call holster, and there's nothing too special about holsters. It's trying to get these 3 stats as high as you possibly can. I'm running a major attribute of armor so I can get my armor cap. And once again, my skill attributes is wrong, so I need to find a better one of these. And that's it for gear. So for a quick recap, I decided to run a 4-piece Century set bonus, a chest piece with Reckless on it, and ideally I would have a pair of gloves with Savage on it. And if you wanted to go pure tank like I used to, I'm pretty sure you could get to about 160,000 HP, but you'd be sacrificing 100,000 DPS, and I don't think it's worth that right now, which is why I changed this build to a bruiser build, not a pure tank build anymore. Thank you guys for watching. If I missed anything, feel free to let me know, and thank you guys again for all the support. And as usual, please check out the videos I have linked here, and if you enjoy them, please like and subscribe. Thank you. These are my stats after rerolling the backpack like we talked about for skill power.